Instructions and procedures, helping to do things right the first time. So if you think about instructions, once again, you always want to be thinking about audience and purpose. Instructions spell out steps required for completing a task or a series of tasks. The audience may be someone who doesn't know anything about how to perform the task. And so it's very important in that case that your instructions be easy and simple to follow. There are many types of instructional formats. There are user manuals. These are the most comprehensive. It could be instructions for product use, descriptions and specifications, warning, safety information, maintenance and troubleshooting advice, contact info, and any extra needed information. Here's an example of a table of contents from a user manual. You probably or should have seen one of these in the past. You'll also note, and this is from a formatting standpoint, it's easy to follow. There are good contents are grouped into logical categories, and you also have an FAQ down there on page 20. You have quick reference materials. Those focus on basic steps, and they're written designed to fit on a single sheet of paper. And there are assembly guides, overview of a product, step-by-step guidelines, visuals. Oftentimes, assembly guides could be a little better than they are. And if you've ever tried to put anything together from one of those, you probably use a lot of swear words. But anyway, hopefully this class helps you create better assembly guides than that. So here's an example of a quick reference card. It's an instructor tip. There are bulleted items. It's simple. It's straightforward. You also have web-based instructions. It's effective to use when an audience who has a mixed set of knowledge about topics. There are online instructions. They need to be up to date. They're context sensitive. They guide you to a menu function you're looking for in addition to give you instructions. Obviously, both of these are more and more prevalent as the internet and electronic documentation takes over. There are some web-based instructions there. How to apply for Energy Star certification. Once again, note headings, note sections, how they format their document. There are also safety implications. You'll see in any documentation or most documentations, inadvertent misuse of products can cause countless injuries, and there needs to be accurate, clear instructions that help prevent injuries. I think back to my time working in factories. It's very important that we called out things not to do to make sure that people did not get hurt. There are also legal implications, and there's liabilities resulting from faulty instructions. If you fail to warn against hazard, if failed to warn against possible misuses of a product, it could have legal implications. Elements of effective instructions: you should have a title, overview or introduction, a body, and a conclusion. If you think back to things like English class, for example, all writing has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so that should be clear. The introduction should orient readers, in other words, tell the reader what this document is about. The body should have the task steps in correct order. So in other words, your body should make sense. And the conclusion, it says, if needed, but oftentimes it is, to make certain that people understand exactly why you're doing things. Visuals, once again, as noted earlier in the course, they enhance the usability. They should be used when appropriate. Notes, cautions, warnings, danger notices, all those things they prevent possible mistakes, alert readers to potential hazards, identify immediate hazards, and these should always be included for user safety. Also liability concerns. Here's a visual, how to apply weather strip caulking, which is more difficult than it appears. And here's a visual. This takes me back to my landscaping days. Always keep in mind, if you build a wall, big rocks on bottom, small rocks on top, you need a setback. But here's a good example of visuals that show you how to do that. There are some caution, warning, and danger symbols. You should recognize these, I assume. You also want to think about detail and technicality. Once again, you analyze the knowledge your audience has. Technical audience can understand brief instructions and jargon. You write with more detail for a general audience. This seems patently obvious, but it is not. Um, if you're in a situation where you are reviewing instructions that someone else has written, it's a good idea to talk to them about what is jargon, what is general knowledge. Readable instructions use direct address, active voice, and imperative mood. Short, logically shaped sentences. Parallel and affirmative phrasing and transitions to mark time and sequence. Nutshell, you want sentences that are direct, give instructions that are not in any way ambiguous, and then they transition so that people know we're going from step to step. Style should be clear and easy to follow. Once again, design is accessible. It should be easy for the reader to refine place after performing tasks. That's why you use headers, and that's why you'll link electronic documents so the user can go back, and if they need to reassess what they're doing, they can do so easily. Should have adequate detailed technicality for a general audience. Here's one for CPR. The steps are called out 1, 2, 3. They are also ABC, and there are bullet points, and it should be relatively easy. And you can see there are small visuals on the bottom to help the reader understand what they need to do. Once again, it had informative headings. The steps were arranged in a numbered list. Right, things were visible. The design was simple. It was easy to navigate. And if you use lengthy instructions, you want to consider it a layered approach. But realistically, what works with small instructions should work with larger instructions. And in fact, I would encourage anyone who creates documents to be as consistent as possible when creating instructions, whether they be long or short. Talk about procedures. Function, they provide rules and guidance for people who are required to follow accepted practice. They standardize tasks. You see procedures in everything from human resources to criminal justice to factory work. So procedures are everywhere. Here's a complete set of instructions. How to replace a worn faucet washer. There's a title, and you'll see introduction, overview, you see body. There's also a note and caution. The caution is called out with a box so people can see it. You have equipment and material needed, all the things that should make it relatively easy to figure out. There's the second page. Those are all the things you want to do. Caution, do not over tighten the packing nut, which is always a bad idea. All right. We want to think about audience and purpose. If a procedure is read mostly by people who already have basic knowledge, it's easier to write than if people don't have the basic knowledge. There are several types of procedures. There's SOPs, standard operating procedures, safety, and medical procedures. There's some safety procedures. It's an OSHA fact sheet. In many different careers, you'll see OSHA fact sheets. You'll see that they use headers, they use bulleted lists. There's a title that is obvious. How do you evacuate high-rise buildings? There are ways that you can make your documents more user-friendly, and one is to use usability surveys. They help writers identify which parts of the document won't work or don't work. Responses can be used to revise the document. Now you can do this either formally or informally. When I used to create instructions, I would take the instructions and I would have people who had been there a long time see if they could do the instructions. I would have people with less experience use the document to see if they could follow the instructions. And oftentimes I would have people with no experience. And if your instructions are good for people with no experience, then you're going the right direction. So you want to analyze your audience and purpose. Once again, you should become familiar with safety and legal implications. In fact, they are very necessary. Use a clear organizational format. Have appropriate level of details and technicality. Should write with a readable style. Simple is better than complex. And you should analyze your document for usability. There's a basic usability survey, so it kind of shows evaluate content, organization, style, so you get an idea what the users are looking at and what they think of your document.